Hello and welcome to the second season of the Buyers Agents podcast, brought to you by buyersagents.com.au. We are so fortunate this week to be on a roadshow, be here in Melbourne, Victoria, and meeting some incredible guests. Joined with me on the panel this week is none other than our Head of Growth and Head of Community Advocacy, Brand Van Ziel. Brand, welcome to Melbourne and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be back in Melbourne.
Yeah, so you were an actual ex-resident of Victoria. It was the first place that you actually moved to when you came from the United Kingdom. Is that right?
That is correct. Great city, great people, great food, great culture.
And so it would have changed significantly since you were last here. That was, about 5 or 6 years ago? Was it?
No, I think it's probably about 8 or 9 years ago.
Right.
But again, there's been some significant investment in terms of some of the transport. Melbourne, as you know, in terms of food, is an ever-evolving evolution, and it only gets better and better every time I visit.
Yeah, it is. It's an absolutely beautiful place, and we are so excited for today's episode because today we're actually joined by Lorna Wang, founder of Investee Buyers Agents and one of Australia's rising voices in property investing. Now, if you've been on Instagram, if you've seen Lorna, she is a powerful example of disciplined investing and strategic property acquisition. Now, she purchased her first investment property at just 22 years of age and went on to build a 5-property portfolio across 4 Australian states before turning 30. Now, coming from humble beginnings and growing up in a single-parent household, Lorna developed a strong focus on financial security and wealth creation from a very early age. Now, today, through her buyers agency, Investee, Lorna helps investors build property portfolios across Australia, guiding clients through strategy, market research, acquisitions, and long-term property planning. Lorna's known for making property investing more accessible for the next generation of investors and often refers to herself as the big sister for property investing, helping people avoid costly mistakes and build wealth through smart decisions. Today, we're going to talk about building a property portfolio from a young age, rent vesting, which everybody should know about, and what the next generation of property investors should be thinking about. Lorna, it is an absolute pleasure. We're really excited about this one and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Leon. Nice to meet you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Lovely to meet you too. I was saying to Brand earlier that I'm really excited for this one. This is my excited face. But no, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. Not only are we down here in Melbourne, Victoria, but from going through your bio and going through your introduction, you bring a really refreshing approach to millions of people who are trying to get into the property market and trying to deliver opportunity for themselves and a foundation for themselves. So really looking forward to understanding how you do that and how you're working with your customers. Brand, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you back this week. We're down here in Melbourne. F1 fever has hit the city. Lorna, how long have you been living down here in Melbourne?
So I moved July 2024, so been here for about a year and a half, settled in now. Definitely been a bit of a challenge, and I think when you move to a new city, it always is. But I actually started my business pretty much when I moved down here, so I've pretty much been like all guns blazing on that. So I haven't really explored too much of Melbourne, but definitely on the cards,
Just working
maybe
around
in
the
the next
clock.
12 months. Yeah, pretty much.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
I love business. I love startup. It's the foundation of what I do. So I love the opportunity to speak to you about how that navigating that business development has gone and building that business, because the Buyers Agent podcast is effectively about buyers agents and their customers and how we can actually help them. But there's a lot of people out there not only wanting to buy property in this younger bracket or first homeowners bracket or wanting to invest, but there's also a lot of people wanting to become buyers agents. And so I'd love to understand that journey. So Investee is your company.
Yeah.
How's the growth been going and how have you been going over the past couple of years?
Yeah. So I guess I've been in the industry for over 3 years. Worked for a larger agency before I started Investee, which definitely really helped me in the sense understand the full scope and have a bit of a mentor to be able to start Investee myself. But I will say it's not been easy.
Was that in the selling side, or was that a buyer's agency that you did your sort of internship with?
So I did basically a 360 role. So, I learned how to buy, I learned how to like get clients, I learned how to manage, like work with them as well, take them through the purchase process and all of that. So, yeah.
Oh, and that's really fascinating because last week we had a guest who'd been in the industry for 38 years.
Mm,
And his advice was exactly what you've just been through. It was go and get a job working for somebody else, whether it be as a selling agent or working in the space. Learn everything you can,
mm,
and then once you know the industry, you know how the engagement works. Once you know the areas, then make the decision to get into becoming a buyer's agent and starting your own agency, rather
yeah.
than just hey, I'm here to start, because even
Yeah.
you've been finding it tough, even though you've had that experience coming in.
Yeah. I genuinely don't know how. I don't think I would be able to get through it if I hadn't started at another agency. So I do feel like it was like such a great experience, and it definitely like, taught me so much. And I just think like when it comes to being a buyer's agent, we are in such a like we're doing a transaction for someone, representing them, and it's such a large transaction. It's life changing pretty much. And I guess like for me, without, having that experience of working for an agency or working for someone that has done it for like however many years, to start on my own, I don't know, I just don't feel like for me, I wouldn't have been ready. And to be honest, like when I first started as a buyer's agent, my director at the time, he actually mentioned to me, like, you can start as a buyer's agent straight away. But for me, I just was like, look, I think I'd much rather take baby steps, get like a couple of reps in, learn like, be handheld for the whole process, and then like become a fully fledged buyer's agent.
Build up that
Yeah.
muscle memory, build up that
Yeah.
articulation. I
Yeah.
start to get an understanding of obviously transactions,
Mm,
because buyers agency or selling agents, you've got to do the hard work. You've got to do the
mm,
groundwork. I think with some selling agents that are friends in Brisbane, and somebody comes to work for them for the first time, their job is to knock doors, to
mm.
jump on the phone, to speak, to converse, to book appointments, to do all the setting. But it takes that to be able to break down the barriers, the mental barriers, to get the
Mm.
understanding, to hear the resistance,
Oh
to
yeah.
learn what people
For
want and
sure.
need.
For sure. And like even like me, like I've done over 80 transactions now. And even like to this day, there are new things that pop up all the time, because every transaction that we do, it's like potentially a new sales agent, a new property, a new client, like potentially a new location, a new street. Like there's so many extra other factors like that, just like randomly you're never going to experience everything.
Yeah, of course.
So like, obviously we have a framework to be able to like take the client through, but just random things will pop up. And like,
Absolutely.
also the vendor, like the vendor side, some of them, it's like very high pressure for them. Or others are just like so much more relaxed about, the sale and everything. So I guess like, yeah, just even having like worked for a larger buyer's agency and like been through that process of like having someone to hold my hand through every transaction. Even today, I'm always like trying to problem solve, and something's all like random's going to pop up all the time as well.
And so when you started Investie, what was the point of difference? What was the customer base that you were looking at and you work
Mm,
with?
mm. So to be honest, I like Investi actually is not meant to exist. Like
Right.
it wasn't meant to happen.
Okay.
So
One of
like
the best ideas. To start that way.
yeah, so like for example, like at my other agency, I was really happy there. Like I was, I think I was on a, probably yeah, a very good thing.
Mhm.
And I was very set in stone with, my life there. I could imagine myself like being part of that team for a very, very long time. And I genuinely did not see myself like starting my own agency. Like I don't know, like if anything, I was never someone to be like, I want to start a business. Like I was never going to start a business. And so it's just like, yeah, I guess like things changed, the structure changed of what was offered there. And at the end of the day, like, it just wasn't going to make me happy. Like it just wasn't what I had signed up to. And so, yeah, that's how Investee, I guess, was born pretty much.
And so you had some challenges, or it just
Yeah.
was a different direction as where you originally
Mm.
founded and started. And I always say with any startup founder that they've got to go with their gut.
Mm.
They're the ones that have to wake up every morning and jump out of bed and be focused. And it's always so easy to sit on the sidelines and sort of say, oh, well, you've got to love what you do every day and you get out there and, never work a day in your life. Well,
Mm.
that is, in my opinion, takes a long time to get there to be
Mm.
comfortable with that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I get to do things now that I love to do,
Mm.
and it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
But you have to do a lot to do that. Like, there's a reason
Yeah.
I don't have any hair, right? Like, it takes some time to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you've got to put it in the yards, whatever it might be. You look around Melbourne and all of the bins around Melbourne. I've
Mm.
had my head in just about every single rubbish bin in Melbourne, and that's not an analogy. That's truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And shout out to Crown Casino where we're staying at the moment. I can actually afford to stay in Crown Casino because the
Mm.
bins out the front of Crown Casino I put in, and they're still going. It must be like 10 years
Wow,
now,
I used to deliver pizzas around.
right?
Yeah.
Pizzas around Melbourne, so you've got to put in the hard yards in startup.
Yeah.
And that then molds you, and then it builds resilience, and then it builds opportunity, and that opportunity
Mm.
builds the fulfillment is
Yeah.
my
And yeah, like if anything, like if I look back on it now, it's like it almost feels like it was meant to be because I think, yeah, I mean, obviously I was working for a great organization before and, you know, they had their own vision and everything, but I've now been able to like create my own in terms of like the direction I want to take Investee and, what Investee stands for and, I guess like, yeah.
Tell us about that. What direction are you taking Investie in?
Mm.
What does it
So,
stand for?
yeah, I guess like for me, I guess it'd be more about like helping those like first time investors, the Gen Z or the millennials getting into the property market and being able to build wealth. That's what I'm like absolutely passionate about. But also obviously being female or being female, I love helping women in the
Sure.
space. And I think for a lot of women, it's a very scary thought to
Of
be able to
course.
like buy property and like invest in real estate because it is such, I think, I don't know, typically a masculine industry. I mean, you've got the finance bro culture, and I do genuinely feel like a lot of the buyers agents out there, yeah, they're men, right? And it's all about the sale, like the growth, the location, and I don't know. I just think like with women, we are a different we're a different gender.
Awesome.
We have different things that like, will
Needs and
yeah, yeah.
viewpoints and
Intuition as
reasoning.
well.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know, like I do feel like I'm really lucky in that sense
Absolutely.
where I can stand out a little bit more.
I love it.
But yeah.
I love it. I was actually speaking to somebody, a friend of mine over Instagram DM'd me, and we were talking about a property that I'm selling. And he said, great property, blah, blah, blah. It was good down that street. And I said, oh, buy this one. And he goes, oh, no, I'd have to get my wife to make the decision. I'll send it to her and let her know. It's really incredible that a lot of financial decisions within the household are made by the female. And I don't want to get cancelled for any of this of discussions, right? Like, right. But, there's a lot of financial decisions day to day that are made, right, by females. And, if they're in this process of, making a decision, why does it have to be the male dominated making the decision in those investment properties or those household properties? Because there is a huge opportunity there, right? If they're educated and want it and desire it, and you're there to be able to give that guidance, especially when they're first starting out, that it seems like there's a huge opportunity for that.
I think also the other thing is women nowadays they're not necessarily married, or they don't necessarily have a partner. So they have the ability to have their own career, generate the income or the wealth to be able to get onto the property ladder. And it's nothing better to have a woman hand-holding you through that process rather than having to go to, let's say, just another, or assuming you have to go to a male. And that's what you bring to the table.
Yeah. No, I think, I do agree with you there in terms of like women now, obviously, they are earning fairly good money. You know, they have, you know, they've obviously got the education, they've got the incomes, they've got the drive as well, and
Discipline.
yeah,
Just a lot more discipline.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, definitely I am seeing more like females like wanting to at least like buy a property before they, you know, potentially meet a partner. And so like in recent times, like I've been working with a couple of like a couple of people that are younger than me, you know, in their late 20s, early 30s, first property, that are like single women looking to, I guess, build a portfolio.
You're a testament to that. You've walked that journey yourself from, getting onto the property ladder at a very young age, having a significant portfolio. And again, I think a lot of women aspire for that or aspire to that. So
yeah, thanks.
What drives you to have done that? So to build a property, Brand mentioned property portfolio, 4 different states that you bought property in. What drives you to do that?
I mean, I don't know. Like I think I think like when I first started, like it was, I don't know, and I never thought I'd have a portfolio of 5 properties. Like it just was not in my like this is my goal sort of thing. But I think just like it got to a stage where like I don't know, a bit of my background, like the buyer's agent that I was working for, they had helped me build my portfolio, and like just going through that experience, it was like so easy. Like it was just basically.
So you bought your first one. Can we unpack that a little bit?
Yeah.
Figures or anything. But if we go back to where was the first one?
Yeah. So the first one that was bought in Sydney. So I bought a 2-bedroom unit in the suburb of Yagoona, which is like.
So one of the
Western Sydney,
the biggest,
sort of thing.
one of the most contested property markets in the world. You were able to buy a 2-bedroom property.
Mm-hmm.
Did you buy it to live in it?
No. So I did buy it to invest.
Okay.
Yeah. So I bought it when I was 20, I think I was 22. Yeah, I was 22 when I bought my first property. Like at that stage, I'd been working for 7 years.
And you had
So I'd been saving. Yeah, I'd basically been saving for 7 years. And I had all this money.
Did you finish high school?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to uni as well. Like I think the year I finished uni, I bought the unit. Yeah. But basically it was my boss at the time. So I worked at a pharmacy all throughout high school and uni, and you know he knew I was always a good saver, and he had mentioned property because he himself was actually buying like units in Bankstown, hence why I went and basically did the same and bought a unit in Yagoona. And yeah, that was my first one. I remember I think I did maybe 2 or 3 weekends of like open homes with my mum. And I don't know, like when I had first like posed the idea or mentioning the idea of property, like she was like all for it. She was like, yeah, you know, property's really good. Like it doubles every 10 years. And I'm like, oh, it doubles every 10 years. Let's look at that. So, you know, I had the money, I had the borrowing capacity. Like I went
Was there first home buyers grants at that time?
There was, but I wasn't eligible for it. So I think at the time, I think I just kind of like missed the cusp of it. I think like if I had bought something that was brand new, like, you know, off the plan, I think there was like some sort of like incentive.
Sure.
But because I bought established, there wasn't.
It wasn't there then.
Yeah. And yeah, anyway, I went through like, I think 2 or 3 weekends of like open homes, looking at units. You know, all I was doing was basically, you know, looking on REA, what looked nice, and then would just like go to the open home. And mind you, like my mum and I, like, well, my mum, she didn't drive, I didn't drive, and so we were doing like public transport and everything, and it was not fun.
So that's a big difference to today, because now there's tremendous support within first home buyers grants, right? And today you've probably got a car as well. So back then, no car, no understanding, no buyer's agent to guide you, maybe a little bit of advice from a boss, and you and mum jumped into a train or jumped onto a bus a few weekends in a row and went and found a property.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so you bought this property. You probably didn't know how to rent out the property at the time either.
Yeah, like literally, you just have no clue. Like, you know, like you don't even know about a lawyer, you don't even know about a pest and build. Like I didn't even get a pest and build.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like it could have been a disaster.
Yeah.
And like I remember this was because I was looking in Bankstown. I'd like gone to an open home, and I remember just like one of the real estate agents, he was like a young guy. He was like, "Oh, we've got this unit in like Yagoona. The vendors are keen to sell, blah, blah, blah. Like, do you want to have a look at it this afternoon?" And so that's when me and my mum went. And it was like a private inspection. We just like had a look at it, and yeah, it looked pretty good. It was in my like price bracket, and I don't know, like they wanted like 370 for it, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And like for me, I ended up, like negotiating down to 367, which is like 3 grand off,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is in a way nothing.
Yeah. Well, in
But
a way
in
now,
my yeah.
now you
Stamp
look at it.
duty, though.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
true. But I know, but in my eyes, because I was like so young as well, like, saving's not easy. And like for
course.
me, 3 grand is a lot of money there. And yeah, anyway, they ended up agreeing to like my price. And I remember the real estate agent like drove me back to their office to like sign the contract. And like I'm sitting there, and like the real estate agent's like to me, "Oh, like, could you squeeze another 3 grand? It's only like a coffee a day." And I was
Wow.
like, literally, I'm about to sign, and I'm like, "No."
But there'd be people that would under that pressure.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like I was like, "Why are you asking me now?"
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, like I'm pretty sure he was just trying to squeeze more money out of
That's
me.
what
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's
And
his job.
obviously, I was like there, just about to sign, and yeah, and he was like, "Oh, it's just a coffee a day."
And now you do that day to day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your job is obviously to get the best price for the buyer.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm, a lot more like, this is how it's going to happen.
And how did that property work out for you? Still got it?
I do still have it.
Wow.
I do still have it. However, I definitely should, like, if I look back on my portfolio, probably would have sold it a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have sold it a long time ago if I like, obviously like you never know the numbers, but I definitely know, I'm certain that I would be better off if I had sold it and then bought something else with that
The
borrowing
opportunity
capacity.
cost.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
exactly. And yeah, it was just, it hadn't performed very well. Like it's all it hasn't even doubled in value yet. So it's been like 12 years, and
It got you started, right? And it got you onto the market.
yeah. It is better than where I started for sure. And if anything, like at least the property didn't go backwards, which, a lot of people do experience that when it comes to investing. Like people do go through periods where, they'll buy a property 20 years ago, and it's like barely grown. Like you can see that in the data. Like when someone has bought something, and there's so many cases as well. So like I'm just thankful that, yes, I haven't, had like heaps of growth, but I've not gone backwards.
Would you say there's emotional attachment to the property, or?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like it probably also, yeah, like obviously it was my first property, but it's also like, oh, maybe it'll grow. Like I think there's always that hope, like, oh, maybe it'll do better. And I have heard like the Sydney market in recent times, like it has done like it's definitely heated up in the last, say, 12 months, which is really good for me.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
I had to wait 12 years, but finally a bit of growth.
Patience is a virtue.
Yeah. But I mean, it could have definitely been better. But I mean, look, if I look back on it, yes, the property, hasn't done very well, and it didn't do very well for many years. I do think that if anything, it was probably the catalyst to like get me to use a buyer's agent. And that's why I have the portfolio today. Because I think like if I hadn't gone through that experience of, not seeing my property perform, I wouldn't have been.
You would have thought you knew it all.
Yeah. I would have been like, oh yeah, I can just buy any other property, and I would know so much less about property investing as well, right? So yeah, I don't know, maybe it was a bit of like meant to be. Like maybe I was meant to go through that experience of buying a poor performing property or a shitty property and basically like catapult me into like a portfolio of 5.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And so you've been that portfolio of 5 is spread across the country.
Yeah.
How have you made the decision to I guess use that as the foundation, and then go into other states or other cities? Has it been solely data driven? Has it been
Mm.
gut instinct? Has it been what made you buy in other states?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it was basically using data, but obviously with the help of a buyer's agent to tell me where I should be buying.
The
Because
same buyer's agent
yeah,
throughout for all those other 4?
yeah. The one that I worked for, I
Yep.
ended up working for
Yep.
them for a couple years. And like, going through that process, like you just learn so much. And like when I was building my portfolio, because I had someone there to just like bounce off. It was just easy to be like, oh, hey, like, why this or why do you do that? Like, why do you go interest only? Why do you not go P&I? Like, um, you know, all these like
How do I structure the
questions.
deal?
Yeah,
What are we seeing? What's the data showing me here on this
yeah,
particular
yeah.
reasoning?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
for example, I have 2 properties in Adelaide, and when I was going for my 5th, like, yes, he was, like, looking at other locations, but he was like, "Oh, yes, you have one in Adelaide, but the market's still really, like, buoyant there." And so I had bought my property in, like, Clovelly Park, which is kind of, like, south of Adelaide, still, like, close to the CBD and everything, but he was like, "Let's actually diversify because you're still going to be under like you're just going to hit the land
Net
tax
tax threshold.
threshold."
Yep.
Yeah. And,
And so
let's just
just
diversify
for
to
the
more.
new home buyers or new investors,
Mm.
what does that mean by just hitting the land tax threshold?
So like pretty much every state except Northern Territory has a land tax.
Okay, so you're paying that on an annual basis based
Mm,
on the valuation of the property,
based on the land
the
value
land
of the
value.
property. Yeah, and each state like you have a threshold.
Mhm.
So for example, if you're buying in a trust in New South Wales, it's like the highest land tax that you'll ever pay. So like recently I've been like working with a client and they're going to be buying in a trust, and like the land tax on a trust with a property in New South Wales, even if it's like at a 900K property or $1 million, like the land tax alone is like 8 grand a year,
Yeah, right.
which is like huge.
It's like a levy.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, I mean, you know, that's a lot of money. And so, like you can structure your portfolio in a way where you're strategic.
Sure.
And, part of that is like diversification. So, for example, you're not going to be buying all your properties in one state. Like that's why I have properties across 4 because, I can then, max out those thresholds
Makes sense.
and then,
And
if I need to
that's a
move
threshold
on.
based on the total
Mm,
value of the land. So if let's say the threshold was 1.5 million and your
mm.
total of your land exceeds that, then you're going to pay
Yeah,
significantly more land tax in each one of those
yeah,
areas. Makes sense.
yeah.
And so you were doing that, and you're making the decision to buy that second property in Adelaide,
Mm,
and you did that.
mm.
And then what took you from there? That was based on data. That was based on his advice, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, his advice, obviously his research, that sort of thing. So, I can't say it was me that built my portfolio, but I mean, I definitely like know how to like structure things in terms of like, getting a client to, yeah, have what I have
And do you
pretty
use a
much.
local agent? I'm assuming all of these properties are rentals.
Mm.
Do you use a local property manager in each one of
Yeah.
those areas to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Local property manager in each area, like that's really important in itself. Like having a good property manager, like as a landlord, is really important.
How do you drive consistency across 5 different properties? 4 different states,
Mm,
probably 4 or 5 different property management agencies.
mm,
Are you an advocate for driving consistency in how they present to you the data and the information back?
mm,
Like um, you know property maintenance reports and
mm.
inspection reports and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you drive them consistently across each one of those?
Yeah, look, most of them have like their own processes.
Sure.
So most will like say, for example, pay your rent at the end of the month,
Mhm.
and then you'll get like a monthly statement.
Sure.
And so like it all reads very similar. And then same thing with like your entry condition reports, exit condition reports, routine inspections. Again, done every 6 months. You just have a look at them, like what needs maintaining, that sort of thing. So
So it's
yeah,
all pretty. There's probably about
like
5 or 6 different major, I guess, platforms out there. So
mm,
one of them's probably using the same for do the exit report and the
yeah, yeah,
invoicing and that sort of thing.
yeah. Like one of like I have, I think I have maybe 4 of the property managers that I use, they use Property Me.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So
Very, very popular.
yeah. So like all my properties, like I just log into that platform and like 4 of my properties are
They're
there.
already there.
Yeah. And so I can just like click onto each one and, it'll show like how much money's gone in, how much money's been taken out, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And if there's like maintenance requests and like, the routine inspections are all there. So like you can see the photos, you can see like maybe what needs repairing and all of that. Yeah.
So 5 properties, what would you say the monthly amount of hours would take for you to remove the buyer's agent's hat and put on the investor hat? How many hours would you spend managing the property or the portfolio?
I'm either not very good because I don't do a lot.
Yep.
Like
You
I
pay professionals,
basically-
I'm assuming.
Yeah,
You pay
yeah.
a property manager.
Yeah.
You've got accountants and you've got tax advisors.
Yeah.
So it doesn't times 5 is with the sort of the principle
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to. If one took an hour a month, it's not taking you 5 hours to do all of them.
No. So like basically like how I do it is like in my emails I just structure like I've just got a folder for every single property, and then when I get an email and I've like actioned it or whatever, I just file it.
Okay.
So like it's only the odd occasion that I might get like a repair request or I don't know, like something needs doing.
Sure.
So it's not like every month I'm sitting down like, counting the dollars and stuff like that
Yeah, of
or
course.
anything. But I mean, I'm pretty sure I get the money. I'm pretty sure I've always gotten my payments in my bank account.
At the right time. All right.
I'm pretty sure.
The auditing back. I'm sure with AI, there's going to be a way to track that pretty soon. But yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, I find the I'm renting, and
Okay.
the having just lived in New York for the past 8 years, this whole 6 monthly routine inspection thing is quite. I mean, I used to it from previous years, but coming back to it, they just don't care in America. Like it's very much
Right.
live and let go.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so it's interesting. So you got 5 properties. So that makes you've got to live somewhere. So you're rent vesting.
Yeah.
So I'm rent vesting and you're renting. For those, and it is the absolute pain and the, we're having somebody come and take photos around your property and every 6 months and make sure it's perfect and clean. Mine was actually 3 months. And that's what I've been doing is 3 months. But like you've then got, so I've lost my train of thought. We've got this idea of rent vesting. You're doing that at the moment. For those people that the family dream has always been to own their own property and have that, live in that white picket fence and, that's the Australian dream. How would you look on, what's your view on the world and why choose rent vesting over, effectively buying your own principal place, moving into it and paying it down over the next 30 years?
Interesting question. I guess like it's just got to do with like my lifestyle, like for me, I really like living in a certain area. So right now I'm in like Hawthorne East.
Beautiful.
So, close to the city, close to like, the amenities that I like to look at, Yeah. So I'm in Hawthorne East, and I guess I like living there. I like being closer to the city. Not that I
Parks,
go in the
restaurants.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess it's
You've got
more just
the hub and the vibe that's
Mm.
there if you wanted to.
Exactly. And I do think like for that, like for me, I don't want to sacrifice that.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, if I was to, live somewhere as well, also like for me, I want to live in a house. Like I want to one day have like a dream home.
Sure.
Would love that,
Yeah.
obviously. But right now it's just, it's probably not feasible. Like, even if I was to buy a house for myself, like, it'd be like 3-bedroom house, maybe in southeast Melbourne if I end up staying here for good.
Sure.
But the prices there is also like, it's a lot.
A lot of
Like
money.
you're looking at like 2 mil for a home.
So you're going to be paying $2 million. So that's got, what's that, like $9,000 per month in a mortgage, roughly,
Yeah.
I would imagine.
It's going,
And so, sorry, I just want to run on this because, and I just need to, and so it's, let's say comparatively, it's $8,000 or $9,000 a month, depending on what deposit you've got. if you've got that sort of deposit or equity. And then on top of that, you're then paying, as you were talking about, the upkeep on a regular basis. So you could be at $10,000 a month. What are you paying rent to live in Hawthorne East?
I pay like $350
$350 a
a
week.
week.
$350 a week.
Wow.
So you got $1,400,
Yeah.
right? Or $10,000 to
Yeah.
live in your dream home. Now let's imagine that we brought that back down and it wasn't the dream home, it was comparable. You're probably going to be spending more, right? So $1 million, $1.5 million, or to get that.
I mean, I am in a 2-bed apartment.
That's what I'm saying. So you bring it down to
Yeah.
get more comparable.
Yeah, exactly.
But you get it more comparable. So you've made the decision to take all of your free cash and invest that, all your borrowing power and invest that in investment properties, which are going to generate revenue effectively. And then that revenue is going to pay down the mortgages on each one of those. And you're living a comfortable life because you're close to the amenities that you require. But it's still a frugal life because it's not the beautiful 3-bedroom white picket fence. I don't think there's many white picket fences down here that I've seen. But it's not. It's your aspirational property that you'll eventually get to, which other people would have paid off for you by the time you get there because of the equity.
But I also think like when, I don't know, I feel like being my age, it's not normal. Like, I don't know, I don't, it's not necessarily normal to have like a $2 million home. Like, at least I don't feel like it should be. You know what I mean? Like, most people still in their 30s, are still quite early in their careers.
Of course they are, yeah.
And so it gets to a stage where, maybe they might cap, and it could be like, if you're in corporate, it might be like a 200-300K income. And that's when you might be able to like, buy your dream home. And so like, I don't know, maybe it's the fact that people just don't want to wait until they're in their 40s to have that. Because also like when you're in your 30s, like you might have, you might start having kids, and obviously like those kids are going to be young. So they're not going to need they're not going to need a massive backyard or anything. It's only when you get to a certain life stage that, you start to think about those sorts of things, about upgrading to a larger home and all of that,
I love how balanced and refreshed and pragmatic, your mindset is, right? It's so true. Everybody knows property around the world, right, is expensive. And it doesn't matter whether you're in Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane or, probably, Mackay is probably cheap, but, it doesn't matter where you are around the world. Property is getting more and more expensive. And in fact, relative to the amount of dollars spent by income, right? Even at $300,000 in income, by the time you paid 40-50% tax, and then everything else that's there's not a lot of free cash available. So to have that mindset and put property to work for you, where traditionally we've seen, you said, your mum said that it doubles every 10 years. So you've gone double 10 every 10 years, times that by a factor of 5. We're going to do all right if we hang on to this stuff for 10 years or plus. And to have that balanced advice, and the reason I'm going into this sort of avenue is you're now taking that into Investee. And you've lived and worked. So not only have you gone and done your apprenticeship with another agency, you've also gone and done a decade, and I'm only basing this on, you said 20s and then you said 30, so I don't know how old you are, but like, you spend a decade of property investing, right, or close to, and you've got those runs on the board. And now you're going and you're building this iconic, and I think it can be iconic, Investee. I really do. I think about this, right? Like startups, you want a point of difference, right? And you only have to go onto Instagram and, say something like investment or buyer's agent, and you'll see everybody on there, pitching their wares on how to be how to invest. But to have actually done it from a business perspective as a buyer's agent and as an investor, like that's pretty bulletproof. Right. And so I think you've got so much tremendous upside here with Investee in the fact that you can take this business and it can be a mission, right? It's not actually just a business. It's a mission to help people and drive their financial freedoms forward because of the experience that you've had. And you've been that pragmatic to be able to make a decision on, what the expectations of lifestyle are, but also in what the expectations of investment are. right? So yeah, of course, not every I'm sure you wouldn't have missed every payment that's come through, right? And you've paid all of the bills, but it's that sort of education that you can give to other people.
Yeah.
And I find that really inspiring. I think, you're really in a position that you can really take Investee to a level that hasn't been seen in Australia. I'm
That's a lot to handle.
well, it should be. It should be, right? Because, okay, like I was building a business, and I said, okay, in Queensland, when you think of the best architect, right, there's a couple of names, probably one or two. Joe Adsett, Sean Lockyer, right? They're just incredible architects. Then you go, who's the best builder, right? And you'd probably say that Grayer is the best builder. And by way of marketing and delivery, I mean, it's just beautiful, the stuff that all of those three organizations are doing. And then you'd go to buyers, who's the number one buyer's agent? And then there'd be a brand name that you'd use for that buyer's agent. And then who's the number one real estate agent? There'd be a brand name for that particular. But when I try to understand who's the name that and you recall when it's, and I don't want to just harp on the female led, but I want to talk about those new home buyers that are looking to get onto the market. Who am I going to go to? Who's the trustworthy source? It's Lorna and Investee. And that's your opportunity to position yourself as that. And I do think I see that.
It's the old adage of people, buy from people, right? But like you symbolize something that very few Australians have, and they want to be, or they want to be in that position, right? And so they gravitate towards that you as a person. And I think that's your unique value proposition to the market. Let's say I'm a young female, educated, frugal, and in my approach, disciplined. They want to have what you have and be in that position. And again, you yourself have admitted with the help of a buyer's agent, you might have been a lot better off now.
And like if you don't believe what we're saying here, right, and to all the listeners at home and yourself included, go back and have a listen to last week's podcast. And we were speaking to a gentleman who's spent, Paul, he's spent 38 years in the Melbourne market in doing this, right? 3,000 auctions, right? His value proposition, his mindset is exactly the same as yours, right? So that's a pretty big thing for you to, and I think you should take some confidence with that and definitely go listen to, because he's an incredible amount of knowledge. And you've only been running Investee for a couple of years, but it's not that, people aren't paying for the 2 years of experience. They're paying for the past decade that you've had investing and the experience you had with that previous agency. So I'm really excited to see where you actually take it, because I think it's Investee could be, in its niche. There's going to be lots of buyer's agents. We're going to have all of them on buyersagents.com.au, right?
There's a lot of us.
You probably see there's a lot more coming through the ranks, right?
There's hundreds.
Yeah. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's having that unique proposition, knowing exactly who those customers are and how you can help them. And that's going to generate you in that. I always get the Gen X, Y, Z, ABCs wrong, right? Like you guys know it better than me, right?
Part of being a baby boomer, mate.
Yeah. 80s aren't booming, right? Well, they were booming, right? It was the 70s, wasn't it? Anyway, and if you can keep doubling down on that, like you've done in your 5 properties, I could see this. I could see this easy as that number one. That space for that particular customer, and you don't have to care. What I find quite fascinating about the buyer's agents industry is, yes, there's lots. Yes, there's more coming, but there's so many different verticals and niches within that. If I was a buyer's agent, I would be the best buyer's agent in my geographical region. I wouldn't be a investee company, right? But you can be investee company, and XYZ company can be the best for, bigger other investments or commercial investments or whatever. And so, I'm quite fascinating. So that's why I think entrepreneurs always need the opportunity to hear, that positive affirmation that that they can do it, because I think that's what powers Australia forward, and that's what powers, the younger group, Bloody hell, I sound old. That's what I hear a lot of the time about people saying Australian kids aren't going to be able to afford, and it's absolute BS, right? They can afford if they want to get to work, if they want to live further out, if they want to rent vest. You know, entitlement's a huge thing, and I think with your sort of guidance you can give these groups is going to be incredible.
Yeah, about that, like it's always been hard. Like it's never been easy. It is getting harder, and I guess like there are just ways where you just have to you just have to live on a lighter budget.
Yeah,
You know,
Discipline
I
factors.
agree.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. It's always been hard. Getting harder, and it's probably cancelled. Who cares, right? Like, it's always been hard. Is it getting harder? Probably. There's economic conditions that are making it harder. There's also economic conditions and governments making it easier, right? Because if you're living in Victoria, what do you do on those 2 days a week? You get your job done in 3 days. The 2 days a week you work from home, start your own business on the side, and build up a portfolio. Get the government funds that's assisting with the new home buyers grants, which you didn't have, I didn't have, and all of a sudden you've got your first property, and it might be in, I don't know, a place you don't really like, but hey, do you know what I mean? So I do think that
you're never going to have it all at once.
at all. And
Yeah.
in time in market, as Paul said last week, is the more time that you've got in that market, the better it's going to be for you. Just like your mum said, right? 10 years, you're going to double, maybe not double, but going to give you that opportunity. So when we look at Investee, how's the growth been, and how you said 80 customers that you've helped or transactions that you've done? How are you finding those customers, and how are you different in your market entrance and others?
Yeah, I guess like so far, I mean, it's been pretty steady. In terms of my clients, like a lot of them do come through as a recommendation. But then every now and then I do get one just like either through socials or yeah, just through I guess like, old like previous colleagues, that sort of thing.
What's your socials? Who is like? Where do people find you?
So I do have Instagram, Facebook,
Is it at Investee or
TikTok, LinkedIn as well. In terms of Investee, no, it's more just like my personal
Okay.
account. Yeah, yeah. So I do like, I don't know, I feel like, yes, there's a business account, that sort of thing. But I think, yeah, like going back to the part of like, people do buy from people. And I think like, yeah, I don't mind sharing. I don't mind oversharing
Mhm.
sometimes. But yeah, I am quite open with that, and I don't know, maybe people just like,
Gravitate towards.
yeah,
You have an interesting story. I follow you on socials, and you mentioned that you'd had a previous life as a recruitment consultant. You had this big competitor. That competitor happens to be your client now. How did that happen?
yeah. So I'm just wondering. Oh, yeah, they actually came through a broker.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It was a broker.
Did you
that
guys know
actually
each other
referred-
like in the previous life?
We never knew each other, so we never actually met each other. But we just what's it called just through yeah, obviously like you're in the space and you know who your competitors are. You hear about them, you see them, doing the same thing. You might have Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's okay.
Have some friends subtly. Sorry. He's held
It's
up.
the worst as well. It's the worst when that happens.
I'm sorry. You're right. Don't die.
Yes. No, that's okay. I've done that as well.
I know.
Oh, it's
Yeah, it always happens in the important.
I know.
Can we still keep going?
Yeah, we can finish
Yeah.
Lorna's answer for sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. What was my train of thought?
So you've got a
yeah.
somebody who came along.
Yeah. So Yeah, they were referred to me, and yeah, obviously, like, I'd seen their name. Like, as soon as I saw the name, I was like, I know this person. And you just kind of like, I guess, like, as a recruiter, even as a buyer's agent, you know what I mean? Like, your competitors.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
I mean, yes, you're not actively watching them or anything. I mean, you might obviously like learn a lot learn from what they're doing and maybe implement some of that. But, you're always keeping an eye out just to see who the competition is.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, it was actually a funny, just a random, a random lead that I got,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And,
Which
and they're a customer now.
yeah, they ended up going in a different direction. Like they ended up changing jobs.
Yeah, right.
Which then, so this is the thing, right? So as a recruiter, you earn commission,
Sure.
and when it comes to changing jobs, quite often people don't start off with the same commissions that they're getting. So they have to work their way up
Back up.
to
Yeah.
build that. And that's partially why, like, I was so driven to build my portfolio as well, because, like, I knew, like, I was doing quite well in my role. Like, I was earning decent commissions, and I think maybe like 70% of my income was through commissions.
Yeah, right.
And so that was quite scary in a way. And knowing the fact that 70% of my income was through commissions, and if I wanted to leave, I'd be leaving a huge chunk of money. And so, like, if anything, I feel like being on commissions and knowing that if I one day wanted to leave, I had to find some sort of way to make me feel comfortable with leaving. And that's when, like, I was just so adamant on, like, building a portfolio, because the thing is, like, when you have assets in the background like property.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Just the hay fever just got me good. So
Yeah,
when
that's okay.
So when you have assets, we'll go from there.
Yeah. So when you have assets like just in the background, they're just growing. And the thing is, like, when I was thinking about leaving my job, say, for example, I had $1 million portfolio. Yes, I might not own that full $1 million. Like, obviously, I own money to the bank, but I've got $1 million compounding at approximately between like 5 to 8% long-term averages. And so even if I wasn't like saving money that year, my total net worth is still growing.
Of course it is.
Yeah. And so, like, that's why as soon as I realized, I was like, as soon as I knew, like, if I wanted to leave, I needed to find a way to still allow me to save money in the background whilst I don't know, either built another desk or changed careers or whatever, you know?
And I think that realization is key. And the earlier that you can do that and realize that, hey, let's put property to work for us. Let's, the money that I do have, after paying tax, I've got this money. I've got to do something with it that's going to have to, how do I make it perform?
Yeah.
I think you've been able to give that guidance to people at such an early stage. If I was under 30, I'd be getting in contact with Investee, and I would be speaking to you, and I'd just be taking out for a coffee and finding out, what do I need to do to get the inspiration to make the commitment to, take part of my salary and put that towards a mortgage and get that first home buyers grant, because I think it's the more people that do it and can take advantage of it, getting onto the property market earlier, the better Australia will be. So
Yeah, for sure. Like, the first one's always going to be the hardest.
Yeah.
It's always going to be like, not having coffees every day. It's going to be, not getting your
avocado
nails
toast,
done.
was it? Was it?
Yeah,
what did
yes,
Gurner say?
Tim
Get a job
Gurner,
before?
yes.
Yeah, no avocado toast.
Yeah.
It's true. Like, people, it's $15 for avocado and toast plus.
Oh,
right?
25 now.
25.
No,
Wow.
not 15
Well,
bucks.
you can see I don't buy avocado toast.
$15 is cheap.
So generally at the end of towards the end of the podcast, we have a quickfire rapid session. I'm going to change it up a bit this week, only because Brian's having a bit of a vascular meltdown. I hope you're all right. He can just breathe. But And because your focus is predominantly with first-time buyers, I'm going to ask you 3 questions about where people should buy. And I'm going to go sub $1 million. No, actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to start with sub $500,000. I have $500,000 to spend. And I wonder, I'm rent vesting. I want to buy my first investment property. Where would you be looking? Where do you like? Where do you like? It doesn't have to be where they should be looking. Where
Yeah.
do you like?
Yeah. So look, the sub $500,000
Hard, yeah.
is definitely hard.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the, larger regional areas or even some of the smaller regional areas, it is quite challenging right now. So I guess like when it comes to lower budgets, there are compromises that need to be made.
Mhm.
And, that's where, people might veer towards like units or it
Perfect.
might be like a 2-bedroom house or something like that. But, like Devonport at the moment is a pretty good buy. Like I'm not going to say, I'm going to say like it's not easy sub 500.
Of course.
Like even sub 600, it can be like challenging, but there are like areas around, that area. There are areas around that location where you can still buy sub 500. It's just that you have to compromise.
You have to compromise. You probably
Yeah.
have to do something as well. Maybe add some value. Maybe
Yeah.
change the carpets. Maybe paint on
Yeah.
the weekend or something to add that tremendous value. And then if you had a little bit more, maybe you're onto your second one. You got a bit of equity. You sub 800,000.
Mm.
Where are you looking?
Sub 800, I'd say like Dubbo, Launceston, pretty good. I still quite like Wodonga.
Nice.
Like Wodonga, like if we look at the growth in like Albury, it's been crazy, like nuts.
And Wodonga's just across the bridge.
Yeah. And obviously you have your, you have your land tax because if you're because of the land tax thing. But then, you still get like really decent yields. At the end of the day, those markets, they grow together. And so the growth in Wodonga hasn't been as strong as what it has been in Albury. So yeah, it's a strong market there.
Fascinating. Well, thank you. It's been. I told you I was going to enjoy this one, and maybe I went a little bit. Got a little bit excited about a few different topics, but it's only because I care so much about number one, entrepreneurs, and them building businesses, and then number two, I care about Australia and how we're going to be able to build that economic freedom, particularly, and it's only going to come from young people getting in. So, I think you've got a huge opportunity with Investee. We're going to be cheering you on from the sidelines and supporting you. I think. If you continue to build the business like you built your portfolio and you with that pragmatic look on life, you're going to do very well and you're going to help a lot of Australians do very well in their focus of making themselves wealthy. So thank you, Lorna. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No,
And
likewise.
we look forward to having you on again.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.